I'm Bo and welcome back to Bo's Books. I'm wearing my party earrings because I am celebrating. I want to thank you all so much for helping me reach my goal of hitting 4,000 watch hours and having 1,000 subscribers on my booktube channel. I am officially monetized and I could not have done this without all of you. The whole point of me making this booktube channel was to create a community, and I've made so many friends along the way, and I'm so excited to have you coming back to watch my videos, and I'm just elated about this achievement. It all started with a dream of creating my own TBR game, a horror-based TBR game for all of us horror fans out there. And I'm so happy that you all like this game so much that you come back every month to watch it. So thank you for being here, and without further ado, let's jump into another episode of Final FMC. And if you haven't seen this before, this is my horror-themed TBR game where I get to play as a final girl traveling around the board fighting against a killer TBR. I use a 6-sided dice, travel around on different spaces on the board, gathering different prompts. Now there are 5 different space types on the board. Those are locations, killers, weapons, victims, and plot twists. My TBR is complete when I get the killer down to 0 lives. If you want a full overview of these rules, I have them linked down below in a downloadable print and play, so you can play along with me or you can just read the rules for yourself. I also recommend going back to the very first Final FMC video that I made because I go into every single rule in detail in that first video. Now before I jump into this month's game, I have to go over the Epilogue Phase from last month's game. So during the Epilogue Phase, I lose 1 life for every book on my TBR that I did not complete. Now I could potentially regain lost lives if I have any location spaces or saved victim cards in my hand. If my final girl drops to 0 lives, the killer wins. But if my final girl is left with at least 1 life remaining, the killer is defeated and removed from the killer deck. Now let's see how I did for my March TBR. In March, the final girl was the good girl. That means my perk was I get 4 lives instead of 3. The prompt for the good girl card is to read a classic or a non-spicy romance. I chose Anne of Avonlea, which is book 2 of the Anne of Green Gables series, and as much as I wanted to continue that series, I did not get around to reading that book, so I will lose a life. The second card I drew was my killer card, and for the month of March, the killer was the Tormentor once again. I chose to escape his grasp by choosing prompt number 2, a book that had to do with hell, or dark dimensions. For that book, I chose The Ballad of Black Tom by Victor Laval, and I did read that book. Now, according to my notes, the first space I landed on the board was a plot twist space, which is wild. I decided for the plot twist I wanted to do a scavenger hunt, and I asked you all to give me prompts, and although I did get started on that, I didn't finish it, so I'm not going to tell you what book that I picked because I still want to release that video and I want it to be a surprise. But again, because I didn't complete it, I will lose another life, unfortunately. The next space I landed on was a location space, and I drew the cemetery card, which means I had to read a book involving a cemetery or the undead. For that, I went with my Book Dragon Book Club's Book of the Quarter, and that was The Spite House by Johnny Compton, and I did read that book. And if you haven't heard already, the Book Dragon Book Club is a new quarterly book club hosted by myself and some of the other hosts from the Dungeons and Book Dragon Readathon. We each nominate a book for the quarter, we put it in a spinner wheel, and the spinner wheel decides which book is going to be our book club for that quarter. Now, if you didn't catch the live discussion that we had discussing the Spite House, you can go back and watch that. That live is posted on Ivy the Geek Goddess's page. I'll go ahead and link that down below. I actually had a family emergency. I wasn't able to make the live myself, but you can see that I left so many comments when I did the rewatch. And in that live, they did end up choosing the quarter 2 book for the book club, and my nomination won. So I'm really excited about that, and we will be having a live discussion in the month of June. So keep your eyes peeled for that. And then of course, if you want to read along with us and join us for the live discussion, this is the book that we will be reading for quarter 2. I thought it just had the perfect summer vibes. Our theme was to pick something queer because in June will be Pride Month, and we wanted to pick something with LGBTQIA plus representation. So this is a sapphic romance. It's kind of a coming of age story. From what I read in the synopsis, it's dual perspectives and we have dual timelines. One story is from the grandmother's perspective and then the other story is from the granddaughter. And I believe both the grandmother and the granddaughter are involved in sapphic relationships or having some kind of queer or lesbian feelings, and they both discuss their stories. And I just think it's going to be really cute, and I'm excited to read it. Okay, now that I've gone on that wild tangent, let's get back to the epilogue. So my next role was a victim space, and unfortunately I didn't have a weapon to fight off the killer, so the babysitter unfortunately got sacrificed to the killer and went to his body count. And that meant I had to read the babysitter's prompt, which was to read a middle grade book. And for that, I chose Kiki's Delivery Service by Aiko Kadono, and I did read that book. It was so cute. I love the movie and I love the book. Definitely recommend. Okay, then I landed on another killer space. And again, I didn't have a weapon, but I was able to escape by choosing prompt number 3, which is the BDSM prompt. And for that, I added Learn My Lesson by Katie Robert to my TBR. And I am currently in the middle of reading that one right now. There are still 2 days left in the month, and I know I'm going to fly through and finish that book. That is such an easy read, so I will be counting that as finished. So I will not be losing a life for that one. Trust me, I hate to cheat, so if I thought I really wasn't going to finish it, I would count it as a loss, but I absolutely am positive I will finish this before April 1st. Okay, the next space I landed on was another plot twist. And for that one, I decided to spin the random spinner wheel for prompts, and I landed on shortest book on my TBR. So lucky. And for that one, I read The Most Serious Fart by Mark Bender. So cute, so funny. It's actually this book right here in the background. Okay, my last and final role for my March TBR was a killer space. And again, I didn't have a weapon, so I had to escape. So I chose prompt number 1, which was to read a book with a cursed or forbidden object. And I chose The Hellbound Heart by Clive Barker, which would have been extremely fitting for this killer. However, I did not get around to reading this book, mostly because there was no audiobook that I could find for it, and I've been struggling to read things physically, even though I did read Kiki's Delivery Service and The Most Serious Fart physically, but I think it's because they were middle grade and children's books, so it was just a lot easier for me to stay focused, as opposed to some of the longer books and the adult level of reading books where I had to focus my brain a little bit more. So anyways, long story short, I will lose another life for not reading this book. Now, if this was any other month, my final girl would have been dead. However, because I have the good girl this month, I have 4 lives instead of 3, and I am safe in the clear. I didn't even need to use my location. So technically, even if I didn't finish Learn My Lesson this month, I could use the location to regain a lost life and I would still win. So either way, if you don't trust me that I'm gonna finish that book, I would still beat the killer because I have a location to regain that lost life. So there you go. So that means the tormentor for this month is finally defeated after my second try. Let me pull up the stats so you can see where we're at. 5 out of 14 killers have been defeated. 5 victims have been saved. 4 victims have been added to the killer's body count. 4 out of 5 final girls are currently alive. The nerd is technically dead, but she still does have her second chance available. Now, as you all may already know, April is when we go back to Aurelium for spring equinox for the magical readathon. Let me know in the comments if you are participating in that readathon and what guild you're in and what calling you have joined. My character's name is Helena Ravenwing. She will be a second year at Aurelium, which means she will be studying to be an apprentice moon warden. Oh, and her guild is Order of the Crescent. I've already printed out my syllabus, which has which courses I need to study for this semester. And so as I'm playing my Final FMC game, I will be trying to match prompts so that I can kind of double up between my TBR game and my syllabus for Magical Readathon, just to make my life a little bit easier. Let me know if we're doing the same calling or if we're in the same guild. It's always fun to see what other students are going to Aurelium. Okay, now that we've gone through the epilogue, talked about our stats, and talked about our magical readathon journey for spring, let's jump into Final FMC for April's TBR. It looks like my final girl for the month of April will be the goth, which is cool because I don't think I've gotten the goth before at all. So now I want to say we've seen every one of the 5 final girls finally. So her perk says, Comfort in Darkness. When you add a book with a black cover to your TBR, you can add 1 location to your hand for free. This final girl can have 2 locations per game. I feel like black is a pretty common cover for books, especially my books, so hopefully there's not going to be any issue finding a book with a black cover. I feel like now that I've said that, I've jinxed myself. But anyway, her prompt is to add a gothic horror or book with witchy or occult vibes to your TBR. Now, with that being said, I'm gonna add a book to my TBR that has been on my TBR multiple times now. Let me go get it. In this box is none other than Forsyth Conservatory by A.L. Sterling. Now, why the big box, you might ask? So if you haven't seen my previous TBR videos, first of all, what are you doing? Go back and watch them. But I constantly was putting Forsyth Conservatory on my TBRs, and it's because it is a debut novel by a debut author that I was really excited about, and I still am. This is a dark academia book, and the box is because I ordered the special interactive story box that she was offering on her website. Now, unfortunately, it is sold out, and I don't know if she's bringing them back. But this includes some special goodies inside that when you're reading the book, you will open special packages along the way as the character is discovering things. You'll open these little like gifts. And I think it also includes a tarot card, and it's kind of like, I want to say like a murder mystery in a box. I think. I don't know, but I'm super excited. I love anything that's immersive or interactive, and when I saw that she was doing this, I had to run and buy one. So I'm super excited to read this book, as I have been for months. But now I'm actually really glad that I never ended up reading it, because now I can do it in a super interactive and fun way. Let me know if you'd actually be interested in watching a vlog where I go through all the, mysteries and unwrapping the gifts on camera so you can see what's inside. I think that would be really fun, but I also don't want to spoil it for anybody that wants to get it. But also, if she's not going to make any more, I think it would be really cool for you to see like what's inside of here. For anybody that didn't get a chance to get it, you can still kind of experience it along with me. Let me know if you're interested in that. I will do it. Maybe there's a way that I can do it that's still spoiler free. I don't really know. So let me know your thoughts and maybe we can do something like that. But essentially what it's about is a dark academia where there's a murder that's happening at a conservatory, and they call in our main character, who is a tarot card reader, and they have her help to investigate and solve this murder. That's about all I got. Okay, for my killer, I got the Alien. Now, this killer was inspired by the scariest villains of all time, xenomorphs from the Alien franchise. I love that franchise, and the xenomorphs absolutely terrified me as a kid, and I love them. So to escape the alien, I'm going to choose prompt number 1, which is to read a book that has to do with outer space or takes place on another planet. And for this book, I'm going to jump on the bandwagon and choose Project Hail Mary by Andy Weir. Weir? I don't know. Now, this book will also perfectly be fulfilling one of my magical readathon courses. For spells and incantations, my course is in fashion. The prompt for that is to read a book that is currently on a bestseller list, and Project Hail Mary is number 1 on the New York Times bestseller when I looked at it yesterday, so I'm not surprised at all since the movie just came out and everybody's watching it, and I've heard nothing but good things about the book and the movie, so I really want to read the book before I watch the movie, so I have to read that book immediately. If you've read the book or watched the movie, let me know in the comments if you loved it, if you hated it, what were your thoughts. Just don't give me spoilers. For my first roll, I landed on a weapon. And for that one, I drew the chef's knife. Doesn't it feel like I get that freaking weapon every single time I play? And for some reason, I never end up reading the book that goes with that prompt. It's haunting me. So the prompt for the chef's knife is to read a book with food on the cover. Now, if you've seen my TBR games before, you know that I only had one book on my physical TBR with food on the cover. However, I recently discovered something. Give me 1 second. There is a pineapple on the cover of Dungeon Crawler Carl. I am super, super excited to add the very first book in the Dungeon Crawler Carl series. I have been so excited to jump into this lit RPG phenomenon and read this book series because I love RPGs and I feel like I'm going to love this book. This series is super, super hyped, and I need to find out for myself if I am also going to be a lover of Carl and Princess Donut. I think yes. Now, luckily, Dungeon Crawler Carl also fits one of my prompts for the Magical Readathon. It might be a stretch, but I did ask in the Discord, and somebody said it sounded good to them, so it sounds good to me, and I'm going to use it. So, for my Art of Illusion class, the course is Alternate Illusions, and the prompt is to read a book with unusual formatting. And I know when you say unusual formatting, you're probably thinking more like House of Leaves, or S by J.J. Abrams, or I don't know, whatever else. But somebody did say that there's like AI screen things that pop up here, or like loot drops, or I don't know. But it might not be totally fitting with that prompt, but I'm just gonna go with it because I don't want to stress myself out by adding another book to my TBR. So I'm gonna say that counts for that prompt as well. Fight me if you don't think that works. For my next roll, I landed on a killer space, but because I have the chef's knife weapon in my hand, I can fight the killer and have them lose a life for free without me adding another book to my TBR. Okay, the next roll landed me on a victim space, and because I just used my weapon, I didn't have another weapon to fight off the killer, so unfortunately, the lovers are getting added to the killer's body count. And this is the first time I've picked the lovers card, and what do you think? Let me know in the comments, but because there's two people, lovers, two people on the card, I think that should count as two victims. Right? Like, doesn't that make sense? So unfortunately, unless you guys tell me otherwise, I think I'm going to add two killers to the victim's body count for the lovers.
Strike that. Reverse it.
Well, anyways, since they got taken by the killer, that means I have to read their prompt. And that prompt is to add a spicy romance to my TBR. Okay, now I'm not usually a huge romance reader, however, I've really been interested and curious to see what all the fuss is about around heated rivalry. I'm going to add heated rivalry to my TBR because I really want to watch the show, but I really want to read the book first. Okay, I'm excited about it. I'm not gonna lie. Now, I hope it's not super cheesy. I don't know how I feel about like sports romance, but I think there's gonna be an added element to it, especially because it's a male-male romance that's probably gonna be a little bit more interesting for me. I don't know. Contemporary romance to me is super cheesy most of the time, so we'll see. I feel like I like romance more on screen than on the page. For some reason, it just doesn't translate for me. Like, on the page, romance always comes off so cheesy and cringe, but I could watch super cheesy and cringe romance on screen. Like, what's that about? I've been so curious to figure out like why I love rom-coms on TV or in movies, but in books, it feels so different and I'm so opposed to it. I'm really curious to find romance books that I really like and enjoy because I love romance. I'm not against it. I like it. I want to like it. I want to be part of it. It just doesn't always work for me. So I have high hopes for this, but I'm also realistically not expecting it to be like the best thing I've ever read. I don't know. We'll see. I had this idea where I wanted to maybe do like a romance vlog where I try different like subgenres of romance to see if I could find a type of romance that I really enjoy. What do you guys think of that? Let me know what you think. Give me thoughts. Give me some recommendations of some romance books that you think that I might like. I don't know. I feel like I gravitate a lot towards historical fiction and horror and queer romance more than anything. So, I mean, I have some ideas in my head of what I might like. I'm also curious about romantasy because I do like fantasy books and I've never read a romantasy. I don't know. I guess this is a video for another day. It's something that's had my wheels turning lately. So let me know if you think this is a good idea for a video and maybe I'll start working on that. But anyways, Heated Rivalry is also going to count for one of my magical readathon prompts. So for my elemental studies course, the course is temperature controls. And the prompt is to read a book with a temperature word in the title. So heated is going to work perfectly for that prompt. This is actually perfect. The next space I landed on was a plot twist, and because I didn't get to do the scavenger hunt from last month's TBR, I'm just gonna roll it on over to this month's TBR. That's actually really exciting because I really wanted to put that video out because I've had so much fun starting to record it. I just never read the book. So spoiler alert, the book is picked out. I'm not going to tell you what it is because I want you to see it happen in the video, and then I will actually be reading it in April. So yay, perfect. Okay, for my last and final roll, I landed on a killer space, and because I didn't have a weapon, I was able to escape the killer instead, and I chose prompt number 2, which is to choose a book that has to do with androids, and for that, I'm going with the book Anibot by Sierra Greer. Ever since I watched the movie Companion, I've been really interested in reading a book that has to do with androids or AI, and all this talk around AI and ChatGPT and these Alexas, and I'm just fascinated by what this book is going to do. I think, correct me if I'm wrong, or I'll just find out when I read it, I think somebody has a relationship with their Alexa. Maybe I'm thinking of a different book. I don't know. I feel like there's a lot of books that are kind of similar in idea to this. I think she is like an android getting used by this human, and maybe he mistreats her, and then she goes on a rampage of revenge, something like that. So I'm excited. AI fascinates me, like the world of like robotics and how everything is like developing. I think it's really scary but also fascinating. Like on one end, it is totally detrimental to humanity and creativity, how it's like taking over everything, including our art and our jobs and things like that. And on the other hand, the technology of it all is like mind-blowing. I was almost able to match up all my Final FMC prompts with my Magical Readathon prompts, but not quite all of them. So the ones I had left for Magical Readathon were my astronomy course, which was Galactic Outskirts. That prompt was to read a book off of my top shelf. So when I looked at my top shelf, there's not many books I have up there, and the two that you can actually see from here, I've already read. One of my cubby holes that you cannot see because it's completely blocked by the plant and the camera angle and all of that, but it is a cubby full of everything that I own that is Labyrinth related. So Labyrinth is my favorite movie of all time. I'm so in love with it, and I actually have this graphic novel that I've never read before. So it is Jim Henson's Labyrinth Coronation Volume 1. Now this is a non-canon story of the origin of of Jareth the Goblin King. I'm not much of a graphic novel reader, but I figured this will be a quick, easy book to throw onto the TBR. So instead of just owning this really cool book, I'll have actually read it. I will say I love that it's in color and I think the artwork is so pretty. So I'm excited to look through this and read it and see what this story is all about. Now, I only own the first volume, so this will actually give me a clue if I want to continue with this series. Then for my last prompt for the Magical Readathon is my restoration class, and that course is restorative adoration, and for that one I needed to ask for 5-star recommendations and then pick one book from there to read. So I went to the Magical Readathon Discord and I asked in the Great Library for somebody to give me 5 recommendations, and they did. Thank you so much. I will put the screenshot of the books that they recommended to me right here on the screen. They gave me 5 really good options. It was so hard to choose from there, but I've actually been in the mood to pick up a fantasy book. It's always so daunting to me because fantasy books are usually in a series, usually lengthy. So I was excited that they had one of their options as Blood Over Brighthaven because I know that is a standalone fantasy. So that is a little bit more accessible to me. I can dip my toe into the fantasy genre without having to fully overcommit to anything long term, and I still kind of get that fantasy fix. And it's, I believe, dark academia, so this is perfect for going back to school in Aurelium. Magical dark school. I'm excited. This sounds perfect. Okay, so these are all the books that I'm reading for the month of April. Wish me luck. I hope everyone has a great semester at Aurelium Academy if you're attending, and if not, I will just see you in the next video. Bye!